What I'm going to share today is my personal backbend practice. Now, the videos I make for you, they're all instructional. How to build core strength, build hip stability, how to work on your posture, how to build an exercise program when you're over 50, and I love making those videos. And there's tons of videos like that. But today I'm going to share my personal backbend practice. And I want to be clear that this is a practice that I do at least once a week. And I'm able to do a practice like this because the other days I'm working on building strength, I'm working on building stability, I'm working on my posture, my upper body capacity, and all the things that I teach. And the thing is like, why do we work on getting strong? Why do we work on keeping our bones healthy? So we can do the things we love to do. For you, it might be playing tennis or golf or picking up your kids or grandkids. For me, I get to backbend for 20 minutes straight, and it feels so good. Works better than a margarita, I promise. But I want to be clear that this is my personal practice and I've built up to it over time, and that I spend a lot of time building strength and stability so I can do a practice like this. I also want to let you know, if you don't know me, that I'm 58 years old. I'm not trying to be a super fabulous yoga model. This is my personal practice, and I do it because it makes me feel good. And it took me a long time to build up to it. When I do my practice, and this goes for all my practices, I use a timer. And I use a timer because every minute it vibrates, it buzzes, so I know to change to the next exercise. Usually, I'm doing deep breath as I'm doing this backbend practice. But for today, I'm going to talk to you about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and what's going on, so you can maybe, grab some insights for yourself. But I want to repeat that this is not an instructional video. This is my personal practice. I invite you to try whatever you want because it's a free country, but I just want to share with you what I do once a week, what brings me joy. And the reason why I can do this is because I work the other days of the week on building strength and stability. And I'm also going to talk about how I use my timer and how every minute I change exercises. So let's get started. So the first thing I do, and I do a heck of a lot of these in my practice, is I do a handstand. My hands are on the floor, I kick myself up. I want to talk about this, right? I wasn't always able to do this. When I first started yoga many, many years ago, I was petrified to kick up into handstand. I had the core strength, but I had so much fear about it, it took me a long time. And then when I was able to come up, I was like, okay, how do I get down? So I spent a lot of time just working on this and getting over my fear. Now, I'm not trying to do any kind of crazy gymnastic stuff or even to balance without the wall. I'm just doing this because it feels good. It feels good on my back, it feels good on my hip, and you'll see that I do a lot of handstands in between the backbends. I'm pushing my hands into the mat, I'm shifting side to side just to get any gnarliness from the morning out of my body. I'm going to come out of that, and then right away I go into what I like to call a figure 8 locust pose. What I'm doing right now is I'm making a figure 8 with my shoulders. And if I wasn't talking to you, I'd be looking up, I'd be breathing deeply. So the main thing here is that my toes are tucked under, right? Can you see that? And that just gives me some control over my core. I just want to extend my spine. And to extend my spine, I'm going to draw my belly in. And I'm going to keep moving. And this should feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, I'd be doing it less. Right? So this is all today's practice. My backbend practice is all about feeling good. And again, if I wasn't talking to you, I'd be breathing deeply, making that figure 8 with my shoulders. And then what do I do next? The buzzer just went off. I go back up into handstand. But I'm going to talk about something else. I'm up into handstand. So you might have noticed that I'm wearing wrist weights on my wrist. I'm actually wearing 2 pairs of my favorite brand in the world. They're called Tony Bands, and I have a fabulous discount code, and I know the owner of the company, so I will make sure somewhere you can reach out and get this fabulous discount code for my wrist weights. I've always worn wrist weights for years and years, and on a practical level, they help add a load to your bones, right? So we're building up bone density, but on a kind of like a metaphorical level, they help me stay grounded. They really keep me in touch with where I am in space. And I love wearing them. But if you're starting wearing them for the first time, you don't need to wear them the whole practice. All of my online and in-person students Get an email with the discount code and they're welcome to wear them, and many of them do, for our online classes. That was another minute. Next, we're going to go into what I like to call a moving camel. My toes are tucked under, my hands are on my heels, and I'm bringing myself up. Now, I certainly could stay here. That's absolutely fine and dandy, but instead I'm going to slowly move. And what this is doing, it's stretching my feet, it's stretching my chest. Now, it didn't always feel so good, right? You got to build up to stuff like this. But I'm 58 years old, and I hope that inspires you that this is not impossible. As you do this, push your hands into your heels, open up your chest, and just extend the spine. There's something to be said to devoting one of your workouts or one of your practices or one of your sessions a week to simply backbending, to simply finding space in the body. That was 1 minute. I'm going to go back up into handstand and talk about something else. So we're coming up, we're here for about 1 minute. So now we're here, squeeze the legs together like you have a mermaid tail. We're going to point the toes. And then you notice how when you do this, your hips sometimes sink like this. Try and do the opposite. So pull your belly in, push your pelvis up, push your hands into the mat, drop the head, and just think about getting very, very narrow. Zip your legs together, pull your ribs in. And this should feel good. If any time it doesn't feel good, you come right back down. How do you build up to this? By building up to this, right? Progress takes time, but it can be accelerated. You gotta just be consistent. What I love about this is I'm pushing to the floor and I can really feel the floor beneath my hand. And then coming down. And that was another minute of handstand. So now we get to go into my favorite part of my backbend practice, and that's wheels. So the first one, you just come up, go around the back, push into your feet, arms down, simply breathe. Now, if you were building, like working on building core strength and capacity, maybe you could squeeze a yoga block between your legs. We do that in a lot of our classes, but right now, just like a free flow backbend practice, rounding the back, pushing into your feet. If I wasn't talking to you guys, I'd be breathing deeply, being grateful for my practice, being grateful that at 58 years old, I can use my body as a vehicle for prayer. And I can feel good by using a timer, my breath, and a few simple, not easy, but simple poses. That was 1 minute. So now we're going to go into full wheel. So my hands are underneath my shoulders, my elbows are pointed up, and I'm coming up, right? So I'm kind of relaxing my head, and my feet could turn out like they are right now. They can turn in. I train and practice and build strength in both ways. I'm going to push into my heels. I'm going to lift my chest a little bit more. I'm going to bring my chest a little bit towards the wall as I throw my shins away from the wall. And I'm thinking about getting spacious. So not necessarily height. We'll do that in a second, but spacious. We're going to take a couple of deep breaths. If anything feels like I need to get like the gnarliness out, I can move side to side. I can make a figure eight. I'm going to breathe here for another second, maybe come up a little bit higher, and simply drive the breath through the body. And then I'm going to slowly, slowly, slowly bring myself down. So we're going to do one more of those bridges, but I'm going to show you how I use the blocks. So it looks like I have 3 on one side and 4 on the other. So I'm going to take one down. I'm going to pop back up into wheel. Now it took me a while to be able to pop up. Doesn't take forever, but it does take some time. And I'm going to get a little bit closer to the wall. And I'm going to see my yoga blocks, make sure they're stable. Bring my hands to my yoga blocks. So why am I doing this? Well, I could give you reasons about more opening for the shoulders or the chest. But truly, it's just to have a different experience. Just to have a different perspective. Just to be able to take a moment and be grateful that I can do this and to drive the breath through the body. Waking up everything. Pushing my hands into the yoga blocks. Pushing my feet into the floor. And finding something new in the body I've lived in all my life. So that was 1 minute. I'm going to bring my hands down. I'm going to come down. And I'm going to flip around, and I'm going to go right into what we like to call bow pose. So that means I'm going to lift up my chest, I'm going to bend my knees, I'm going to grab my feet, I'm going to come up. I'm not going to make it gigantic, I'm just going to simply breathe. If I want to make it more about my shoulders, I would push my feet away like I'm doing now. If I want to make it more about my hips, I would drop my chest and lift my thighs. Either way, I take a moment and I drive the breath through the body. And what comes next is gratitude. That I can do this, that I built up to this, that I have something that I can do on my own with a simple timer that makes me feel so damn good. I'm going to take one more deep breath and exhale. So that was another minute. We're going to flip it around and we're going to do one more of those bridges. This time, just a little different. Hands are down. I'm going to bring myself up, right? So in the old days, when I first started building up to this, I would do things like take one leg up, point the toe, take the other leg up, point the toe. But lately these days, I just like to move through the movement. So that means I come down and I come up. And you know, this just feels so good to be able to lift myself up out of my circumstances, to be able to just do something a little bit different with the back bend. Now to really work on form, pushing into my inner heels, rounding my back a little bit, softening the ribs, pushing my hands into the mat. Now that, here my timer going off, was 10 minutes. And usually when I take a back bend practice, I set my timer for 20 minutes. But I just wanted to give you a glimpse of what I do, how I do it. And just to I want you to have something like this. It doesn't need to be 10 minutes of crazy back bends, nonstop talking like I did. But I want you to have a practice that you can go to, that you can turn to, that you can return to, that elevates your day, that makes you grateful for being alive. So take what you want from this. Reach out with your questions. Thank you for letting me share my practice with you.